Rain anytime in the next 7 days. We'll have all that coming up in just a moment.
And the Hallettsville Brahmas, they look to upset the Franklin Lions on Thursday Night Football for the playoffs. We'll highlight this game coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6.
Good evening, I'm Shawna Currie.
And I'm Don Brubaker. Veterans Day activities in Victoria started this morning with the Veterans Day Parade downtown, organized by the Victoria County Veterans Council. The parade included marching bands and other entries showing their gratitude to our heroes. Then Vet Fest was held at Sun Valley Ranch. That aimed to connect veterans to valuable resources and help support them. Veterans and their families enjoyed live music and lunch, and there was playing putt-putt golf and a fishing pond while learning about resources the community has for veterans.
Victoria ISD will not be providing transportation for Victoria West High School students in the band, on the cheerleading squad, or drill team to attend this week's playoff football game in Corpus Christi. The Victoria ISD says the decision was based on budgetary limitations, according to a statement. They claim they do not have enough buses for travel and don't have enough funds for alternative transportation. Victoria ISD School Board President Mike Mercer says they cut funding to extracurricular activities by 25%, along with even bigger cuts in other departments. In his statement, he says the district is committed to increasing teacher pay to a competitive wage despite the failed voter approval tax rate election. Since the community learned about the travel issues for Friday's game, individuals and businesses have stepped in to try to raise enough funds for the extracurricular groups to attend the game. And this brings us to today's viewer poll. What should schools do when budgets are tight? Cut back on events and travel for all organizations, fundraise to cover extra costs, ask parents and community for donations, or look at other budget cut measures. Right now, just over 50% of you feel that they should cut back on events and travel for all groups, which is what they have done in this instance. But we want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote, and we'll have the latest on 25 News now at 10.
A portion of Farm to Market Road 3131 in Jackson County is closed for construction. Starting today, the Lawaka Navidad River Authority closed FM 3131 between FM 1593 and FM 1822 to drill and install instrumentation in the embankment of the dam. Detour routes are set up through State Highway 111 and State Highway 172. Signage is in place to guide drivers through the detour. Motorists are advised to expect delays and plan for additional travel time. The road will stay closed through December 20th. Time to check in on our weather with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. I don't know about this weather. It's November 11th. We should have some kind of a chill in the air, but instead we're getting some sweat.
We're breaking records.
We're breaking records. We had a record Friday and a record Saturday in the 90s. So no, it doesn't feel like fall at all. 78 degrees right about now after being up at 88. We had our record for this date would have been 93, but we were at 91 this afternoon. Yeah, it doesn't feel like November. We'll try and look for some rain and maybe some cooler weather because we got 2 cold fronts coming in, and we'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
All right. A woman is accused of starting a fire that killed a Houston firefighter. Authorities say 38-year-old Yesenia Mendez is charged with first-degree arson. She's accused of starting a fire where 42-year-old firefighter Marcelo Garcia was killed last Wednesday. Espinoza is being held in the Harris County Jail on $100,000 bond. During a hearing today, the judge will require her to wear an ankle monitor if she posts bond.
President-elect Donald Trump announced Stephen Miller, his top immigration advisor, will be White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. Miller was a senior advisor to Trump during his first administration and has been a leading advocate for more restrictive immigration policy. He expected to take on an expanded role in Trump's second term. Miller is also a lead architect of Trump's plans for mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. He has said a second Trump administration would seek a tenfold increase in the number of deportations to more than 1 million per year.
President-elect Trump has offered Republican Representative Elise Stefanik the job as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Stefanik, a New York congresswoman, is the fourth-ranking House Republican. She has also been a strong ally of Trump and a major fundraiser for the GOP. In a statement, Trump said Stefanik was, quote, an incredibly strong, tough, and smart America First fighter.
President-elect Trump said solving the immigration problem is one of his top priorities. Trump named Tom Homan to head Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. Trump is familiar with Homan. He served as acting director of ICE during the president-elect's first term in office. Sources say Homan is expected to serve in a czar-like role. Homan was a contributor to Project 2025, the sweeping conservative blueprint for the next Republican president. Donald Trump has said he didn't know about that. The Texas Tribune reports President-elect Trump pledged to weaken air pollution regulations, reverse efforts to slow climate change, and continue to boost oil and gas production. To read this full Texas Tribune article, visit our website, crossroadstoday.com. On this Veterans Day, there are nearly 18 million veterans who have served in the military. Most of them, 14.2 million, have served in wartime.
So finding what happens after their service can be a challenge, which is why there's a special push this week to help veterans find what's next. Maribel Gonzalez has more.
About 1 in 4 employed veterans goes on to work for local, state, and federal governments, but millions of them forge a different path. These small business owners are known as ventrepreneurs, and this post-military path can lead them in unexpected directions. That is where the National Veterans Small Business Week comes into play.
I'm Pat Montgomery, former member of 1st Ranger Battalion and owner and founder of Casey Cattle Company.
A world away from the battlefield, Patrick Montgomery found his next mission in a Missouri cattle field.
I am a huge believer that entrepreneurship is a great fit for the veteran community.
He launched a specialty beef company, but after a rave review from Food and Wine magazine, the company went from 20 orders a week to 12,000 in 24 hours.
You need funding to go make that growth happen.
Montgomery turned to the Small Business Administration's program for veterans to help build up his company.
That's where we come in. We help with the mentoring, we help with the training, and we stay with them.
The Federal Office of Advocacy's most recent numbers from the U.S. Census show more than 1.6 million veteran-owned businesses in the country, with nearly $1 trillion in annual sales, employing about 3.25 million people.
The American economy is driven by small businesses. So the more veterans and military spouses we can get into entrepreneurship, starting their business, is a big win for our economy.
30% of veteran-owned businesses employ fewer than 20 people. Casey Cattle Company has 12. Its website says, quote, the military taught them values they deliver to your plate. Patrick Montgomery says if he can do it, any veteran can.
In the world, but there's something out there post-military service that can provide that same fulfillment and the same brotherhood and camaraderie that you miss. Happy Veterans Day, y'all.
Now, another place where veterans are going to work, Congress. In the 118th Congress, which is wrapping up, the VA says 80 House members and 17 senators have served in the military. In Los Angeles, I'm Maribel Gonzalez.
Stay with us. Straight ahead on 25 News now at 6. The White House rushes to distribute remaining funds before Trump's return.
Also tonight, the Fed cuts interest rates, but mortgage costs remain high.
I am so excited to host the CMA Awards again.
Nashville, here we come.
Hang tight, honey, got a pocket full of money and I'm headed straight home to you.
Randy, what are you doing here?
I'm hosting the CMA Awards with y'all. Country music's biggest night is almost here. Join us for all the excitement live from Nashville. It's the CMA Awards right here on KAVU ABC 25.
Y'all ready to do this?
I can pull off bell bottoms.
Sure you can, buddy.
Racing to dole out remaining funds from key legislation President Biden signed before President-elect Trump takes office. That includes finalizing semiconductor subsidies, allocating climate grants, and increasing aid to Ukraine. The Biden administration is rushing to implement key initiatives before Trump's return to the White House. Since leaving the 2024 race, Biden has pushed his team to speed up work on major legislation, including the infrastructure law.
The cost to borrow money has gone down slightly, the Federal Reserve approving to lower interest rates by a quarter point last week.
But mortgage rates remain high. Why is that? Jen Sullivan explains in today's Consumer Watch.
Federal Reserve announcing last week to cut the benchmark federal funds rate by a quarter point, lowering borrowing costs for banks to 4.5 to 4.75%.
We are committed to maintaining our economy's strength by supporting maximum employment and returning inflation to our 2% goal.
The move will lower interest rates for things like credit cards, car loans, and other debt. But the one borrowing cost that hasn't gone down are mortgage rates. In fact, 30-year fixed mortgage rates inched up last week to 6.79%, according to Freddie Mac.
Mortgage rate hit 20-year high.
So with higher rates, why are prices staying high? Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist with the National Association of Realtors, says there's a lack of inventory. Fewer homes on the market means higher prices and more competition.
Home prices hitting new record highs with each passing month, and this is simply due to the fact that we have a housing shortage.
High costs are also hurting the housing market. The median home sale price last month was $418,700. That's more than 3% higher than last year, according to the NAR.
It's frustrating to see that, but it's not surprising.
It's especially frustrating for people trying to buy their first home. Only 24% of housing sales last month were first-time home buyers. But Yoon predicts some good news for buyers.
I think the new normal for mortgage rate could be something closer to 6%.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
A new study shows loopholes in e-cigarette purchase laws. Current regulations require buyers to be 21 years old with photo ID verification and ID scans for deliveries. Researchers tested purchases from 78 sites. Of 105 deliveries, only one delivery person scanned an ID. 78% were left without any interaction, 16% had no ID check, and just 5% had an ID checked without scanning. Most orders arrived via the U.S. Postal Service, which is not allowed to deliver vaping products.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. All eyes were on the SpaceX Falcon 9 first stage booster and its successful recovery. Launching for the 23rd time, the booster tied the record number of flights made by two other Falcon 9 boosters. About 8 minutes after liftoff, the booster landed on Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, a little more than 7 miles away.
Very interesting. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We had a terrific weekend, beautiful sunshine. Didn't feel much like November. Can't even keep track of the month right now. Right about now, we've got clear skies, but we're going to get some of that fog, low clouds, and mist overnight. I'll explain that in a moment. And you remember Rafael, the tropical system? It's still wandering around. We'll be talking more about that coming up in a moment. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Well, lots of sunshine over the state of Texas. Very pleasant weather that we had. It was nice and cool over the weekend because we had that north wind. This morning, what we have is basically a humidity layer down at the bottom of the atmosphere, and above us is very dry. So that humidity is what gives us the warm, sticky weather, and of course the fog and the low clouds overnight. Sun breaks through in the morning and then burns them all off, and we get quite warm. I was telling you about the remnants of Raphael still been wandering around here, but you can see right here, although there's a little bit of a spin, you can see how the rain's getting pulled off by that cold front on top of it. Another front north of us, not going to do much in terms of our weather. This one out here has a few days to go, but it looks like a big, strong storm. What I look for is obviously a low, and I see this little cotton candy kind of popcorn, maybe marble looking cloud structure. That is cold air. That is going to roll over the Rockies, and maybe the tail end of that front will get into Texas, but right now we're not hoping a whole lot. We're going into what we call the La Nina pattern. Now, you've heard me talk about El Nino, which is a warmer than normal Pacific, and La Nina is a cooler than normal Pacific. You think, well, what does that have to do with us? Well, believe it or not, it's kind of a big dome of high pressure that sets up over here because of the cooler water. And that dome diverts all of these Pacific storms above us and into the northeast. So the bottom line is La Nina, as we get into the winter season, is going to be dry and not very cold, unless we get some sort of Arctic outbreak. But if it's just with this pattern, that's the forecast for the next 4 months. You can write it down, talk to me in springtime, see how I did on that one. Tomorrow we're looking for 85 as a high temperature, still rather warm, but a few 70s out in the panhandle. In terms of future tracker, watch this. I mean, it's just really bone dry over our area. We go forward through Tuesday, and you can see we do pick up some of that overcast in the overnight time period. The remnants of Raphael still sort of wandering around out there. It looks good, right? But no, that little weak front to the north of us kind of pushes that away. So we actually will cool down a little bit as we get to midweek, but it's not exactly, but it's dry air, and it's not going to bring us anything other than maybe a knockdown in the temperature department. Otherwise, let's see what other maps we've got. Well, as we talked about the remnants of Raphael, we've got to look south again to see what's going on. Well, believe it or not, there's another area that has potential to develop very much like Raphael. Now, the center low would be here, but in about 24 to 48 hours out here, in the National Hurricane Center says there's a potential for development. Which way would it go? I think it'll go north because of those big, deep storms that keep passing overhead, and they're not really digging down that far south. It's too early in the season, but I think that's the pattern. In fact, if you remember carefully from last week, I said Raphael would eventually move into the Mobile, Biloxi area. Did you see the map? Anyway, sunny skies tomorrow, 81, and then we're looking for 85 out in the Cuero area. Dry weather through the next 7 days. Little front here, but it only knocks the temperature down about 5 or 6 degrees, and then after that, we'll wait for that Monday night front to see if that does us any better. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have this QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Shawna.
All right, well, now we send it over to Max Williams with a look at what he has coming up in sports.
All right, Shawna, Victoria West plays Davenport High School here tonight in some volleyball action and playoff-wise. I'll highlight this game coming up in sports. Everyone, we have made it here to the playoffs. And again, later in the show, I'm going to reveal again some of the games in 2A and 3A here, who's going to have a chance to make it to state. But one game we're going to look at, the Victoria West Warriors. They're facing Gregory Portland Wildcats out of Corpus Christi. They're 5-5 overall for, again, Gregory Portland, 4-1 in district play. I had a chance to see them earlier against Victoria East, and I didn't really look that totally impressive, to be honest with you. So I think they're this game for West. I think they can win this game. They got enough firepower for Dominic Martinez. They got a star wide receiver as well in Tristan Bernard. I think this one's going to be one to watch for sure here out there in 5A. But again, many area teams, they're getting favorable matchups here. Again, in this week's by-district round, it's going to start here Thursday and Friday. But Hallettsville have one of the tough tests there in Class 3A. After falling to Yoakum there in their seeding game, the Brahmas will have to face the Franklin Lions. They're fresh off a championship appearance last year. And again, they eliminated the Brahmas there in the first round.
We had lots of mistakes. We kicked ourselves pretty bad. If we can get our crap together, I think we'll put them for a run of their money. It's not over. We still got another week ahead of us, and we get our stuff together.
I mean, you understand Franklin's been in the state championship the last 3 years in a row, and you know when they beat us, they've beaten us the last 2 years in the playoffs. So we do know that, but honestly, you know our kids aren't dumb either. You know we've got everything to gain and nothing to lose.
The Brahmas, they will travel at the Waller Stadium there this Thursday again. They're seeing if they get a massive upset over Franklin there in that one. And now this takes us here to our viewer poll. Again, it's same in the football ranks, but I'm going to ask you who you believe, yes, the viewers, who think will win a state championship this year out of these teams. And again, these are all four good teams to look for: Ganado, Refugio, Edna, Shiner, or other here. And looking at it, Edna takes over the lead. Again, Ganado got a lot of votes there as well. And again, some people picked other too. So again, a lot of different choices. We'll see if anything changes going into the 10 o'clock show. But we have some playoff volleyball tonight as well. 4 area teams playing tonight. We've got the Shiner Comanches facing Junction Eagles, Industrial Cobras versus Hebronville Longhorns. But Victoria West also is facing College Station Cougars, and some of the stars here to keep an eye on this one: Ashley Griffin and Emily Parker. They've been stars this season for the Warriors. I think this one's going to be a good game. It's going to be there at Columbus High School. It's going to start here in about 30 minutes time. But over to Calhoun, they play at Cuero High School tonight. That game's going to start here in a matter of moments, again, versus San Antonio Davenport. The Sand Crabs, they're 38-5 overall this season. Again, they won their first 2 round matchups against El Campo and Toulouse Midway. And senior leader, past athlete of the week there, Neva Rangel, will be a factor tonight. Kendall Vargas also will be huge in order for the Sand Crabs to win. And again, I mentioned it, we're going to highlight some of these matches in 2A, 3A here. And again, we're going to start here in 2A. Ganado versus Skidmore Titan. That game's going to be Thursday night at 7 p.m. at Victoria Memorial Stadium. For Refugio, they play the Kennedy Lions. That'll be Thursday night at 7 p.m. Again, Beeville Veterans Memorial Stadium. Yorktown, they face the Ben Bowl Badgers again at 7 p.m. also at Beeville Veterans Memorial, but on Friday. For Shiner, they face the Woodsboro Eagles. That's Thursday at 7 p.m. at Cuero Gobbler Stadium. And for the Louise Hornets, they punched their ticket last week to the playoffs. They play Lavilia Cardinals. That game will be on Thursday, 7 p.m. at Freer Buckaroo Stadium. But over here to 3A, again, all these matchups here, we're going to start here with Hallettsville. I mentioned they're playing the Franklin Lions. That'll be Thursday at 7 p.m. at Waller ISD Stadium. The Troy Trojans, they face the Yoakum Bulldogs Friday at 7:30 p.m. at Hutto Memorial Stadium outside of Austin. The Goliad Tigers, they'll face the Bishop Badgers Friday at 7 p.m. at Victoria Memorial Stadium. The Etna Cowboys, they face the Lyford Bulldogs Thursday at 7 p.m. in Corpus Christi Warrior Stadium. And to finish it off, the Tidehaven Tigers, they have played in 3A Division II. They face the Thrall Tigers Friday at 7 p.m. in Flatonia Bulldog Stadium. So again, that's all the matchups out there in 2A and 3A. Man, we got a lot of matches to look for here. Tomorrow, I'm going to reveal the 4A and 5A matchups in the playoffs. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait for Friday night. Dawn and Shawna.
Thank you, Max, and we're back in a moment. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade debuts new balloons.
The 98th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City is less than 3 weeks away. This year, 6 new featured character balloons will debut. Check out the sneak peek from the test flight of the new balloons. They'll include Disney's Minnie Mouse, Extraordinary Noura, and the Elf on the Shelf, as well as Gabby Goku by Dragon Ball and Spider-Man. The Macy's parade lineup will be one of the largest yet, with more than 5,000 volunteers. Wow. Actress Allison Brie will cut the ribbon and kick off the parade. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will kick off, obviously, on Thanksgiving morning at 8:30. So
I can't believe Minnie Mouse is a new balloon.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man. Yeah. Spider-Man's been around forever.
They're too popular, like I said, characters we know, and like I said, they're just there. I mean,
and Mickey has been in for how many years? Like forever.
Well, we ran a story a couple months ago about it has to do with it's right around the centennial for Minnie and all of that. So kind of an honor for her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we'll be here with our air conditioning on watching the Thanksgiving Day Parade, because at this point in time, I don't see any cold weather heading our direction, certainly not in the next 10 days. What we do have is lots of sun and lots of warm temperatures staying in the upper 80s all the way through. Now, there's a tiny little front coming in on Wednesday with basically a north wind that'll get us some dry air. And that'll make the evenings comfortable, but the daytimes will still stay in the 80s right on through next week.
And just to be clear, we can say adios to Hurricane Raphael.
Raphael's long gone, distant former shadow of its former self. A shadow.
That's what the hurricanes get for trying to form in the Gulf in November.
But there is one more
what?
Developing. You said Raphael.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Raphael.
Yeah.
Let's see what I think Susan or Sandra is going to be the next one. We'll watch and wait.
We're desperately seeking Susan. All right. Thank you, Mac, and thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.